Thank you everyone so much for your patience. It is my pleasure to introduce Kathy Kat Tade, who is an enthusiastically serving as a new English language fellow in Chiang Rai, Thailand. She is teaching English education classes for Chiang Rai, I'm not sure I'll pronounce this correctly, but Rajabat University Department of Education, and supports the Chiang Rai AUA Access Program. She earned her Bachelor of Arts degree in Secondary Education English from Clemson University and a Master's of Arts degree in English TESOL from the California State University, Sacramento. In 2020, she also completed the Writing for Interactive Media program at Purdue University Northwest. Kat has taught in a variety of English language learning settings from pre-K to university, and recently was awarded Teacher of the Year for Adult Education Division of Dearborn Public School District in Dearborn, Michigan. She holds a secondary English and ESL teaching license in Illinois, Indiana, and Michigan. Her teaching and research interests areas focus on student-centered lessons, dynamic communicative activities, multi-leveled lesson delivery, Socratic seminars, content area reading, and writing across the curriculum. Kat's extensive educational experience have taught her that language learning is unique because it enhances life experiences, promotes global citizenship, and fosters cultural adaptability. We're so glad to have you here, Kat, and for you to share your expertise with us. And I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you so much for coordinating all of this for all of us. We are really benefiting from your work, Claire. So thank you very much. Okay, so tonight, I think it's the final night of the April webinar presentations, correct?
That's right. So this is our final, last but definitely not least, of the webinar series.
Okay, so I'm hoping that everyone can see my screen successfully.
Yes.
Great. Let me just from the beginning. The beginning's always good. Okay, so if everyone can see this, this is the title page. Feel free to let me know in chat if there are any issues. I see there are some chats already. So, oh, good. Thank you so much, everyone, for saying that you can hear me. Thank you so much. And first of all, Sawadee Ka from Thailand. I'm in the northern part of Thailand near the mountains. And then also Salam Alinko for those of you who also speak Arabic, and also good evening for people who speak English. So it's nice to see all of you here. And we do have a few more chats. Oh, good. You can see my slides. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's really helpful. Great. Okay, so the title of this is just General U.S. Graduate School Interviews. All right, let me just close this. Good. Okay, so tonight's agenda, and I see that it is about 5:15, so I think that we'll be able to finish. But here's the agenda for this evening for the next 45 minutes. In case you need to grab something or you have to get away from your computer, you'll sort of know what we're covering. So if something happens and you need to leave, just feel free to come back, especially join towards the end when we'll be doing a fun Kahoot learning poll to see how much you learned tonight. It's not a quiz, it's just a poll that I hope that you'll enjoy. It's just 8 questions at the end. And again, it's rating your own knowledge. This is not a quiz. So here's our agenda. First, we'll look at U.S. graduate school interviews overview. Then we'll look at tips for interviewing. Then we'll look at an example structure of an interview. They're not all the same, of course, but this is just an example structure. And we're going to look at the 8 most popular grad school interview questions with expert examples and then the STAR method. So I want you to look at 8 examples of popular questions. Even if you decide not to go to graduate school, these are great interview questions, even for jobs. So I think it's good for all of us to practice our interview questions occasionally, just to make sure that we brush up and stay current, whether we're looking at continuing school or going into the workplace or even volunteer positions. And then last, we'll be completing a learning poll of 8 questions to see how you rate your knowledge after the presentation tonight. I hope that you learned something tonight, and share your experiences also with the group. So U.S. grad school interviews, this is just a quick overview. They're required by many graduate schools for admission. GA, which is graduate assistant, TA, teaching assistant opportunities. Those are jobs on campus, paid positions, research positions, and graduate scholarships. Sometimes they will use interviews to fill all of those positions and also to look at you for a match for opportunities on the university campus. Often it's the last step of a selection process. So if you are invited to an interview, you can feel really excited and proud of yourself because you are probably a finalist for that university. So congratulations if you are when you are invited for an interview. The university will be evaluating the candidates through interviews. And then also it gives you an opportunity to learn about the department and show them maybe what you could not show or did not show in your application. So again, that's just an overview of United States grad school interviews. Not all schools require an interview, but for the positions of TA, GA, scholarship, and research positions, sometimes they will ask you for an interview. Here's some general tips that I've put together, but things I've also found from my reading on the internet. Review the format for your interview and know if it's an in-person or a video interview, because of course you prepare a little bit differently. The nice thing about video interviews is you could have notes with you. You can maybe have some books on your table to show. So that's the nice thing about the video, but in person is also nice because you can see the campus, meet people in person, kind of get a feel for the school. But it might be difficult if it's very far away. So you may be doing video interviews. They may be less formal part of the department open house or tour day. So there's an article at the end of the presentation written by a person who talks about her interview being part of an open house. So it could just be a little more casual, or even an open house type Zoom day or Zoom meeting. Also, please dress appropriately and then present yourself professionally. Be aware of your nonverbal communication, not just when you're in person, but also when you're on Zoom. Use the interviewer's name if you can remember at the beginning or end of the interview. Use the person's name. You might want to find out the person's name before, if you can, and write it down, because sometimes you get nervous and it's hard to remember the person's name. So, and then also send a follow-up email to the interviewer or professor if possible. You, of course, decide whether or not that's possible. But you might want to send just a follow-up email to remind them about your attributes, your great qualities, and also just remind them of your name too, because they're probably talking to a few candidates. Here's a possible structure of the U.S. grad school interviews. Again, this is just possible, not guaranteed, but maybe it may look like this. Casual conversation, brief small talk, interviewers' introductions, usually after they do a little small talk, Small talk usually involves like weather, how did your travel go on the way to the campus? If you're doing a Zoom call, they might talk to you about your location a little bit and what your weather's like that day, or maybe what time of day it is. So just a little bit of small talk, but that's part of the evaluation. They're kind of seeing how you are even with your chat or your small talk. Then the interviewers usually introduce themselves. So try to learn their names before the interview because if you're nervous a little bit, it's hard to remember people's names. And then they'll ask you generally to introduce yourself. And then they'll probably ask you questions. And I'm down with the interviewer or committee questions for applicants. And then at the end, they'll ask you probably what questions you have for them. And then they usually will offer some closing comments, usually not a promise of admission. So if you do not get a promise of admission, do not be sad. A lot of times legally, they have to wait and look at all of the applicants before they speak and make you an offer of admission. And then next step information. So generally at the meeting, they'll tell you, please, we will be calling you in the next week. We will be emailing you in the next 10 days. So pay attention to the next step information because, of course, if they're calling you, watch your phone. If they're emailing you, watch your spam so that you don't miss an important email. So again, this is just possible structure of a grad school interview. So now I want to look at the interview questions. And this is, I pulled the most popular 8 questions together. And I thought that you could look at these tonight. For 2 of them, I offered expert answers. So this first one is the most popular interview question in the United States. It's in every single school and job interview, and probably internationally too. But the question is, well, it's more of a command. Tell me about yourself. It's a very common question, the most popular question. It always, well, generally opens the interview. You are expected to share in 2 or 3 minutes your goals, achievement, interests, experiences, all tied together through your personal values. Please prepare carefully for this question for graduate school and also for jobs. I wanted to share with you an example of what's considered an expert answer to tell me about yourself. So this is part 1 and part 2. And again, this PowerPoint will be available through YouTube. So feel free to look at this again later. I'm going to go ahead and read this slide to you. I know generally we try not to read slides to you, but I want you to hear the whole answer. So I'm going to read this slide to you. And it's part 1 and part 2. Tell me about yourself. This is an applicant to graduate school's answer during a graduate school interview. I was born in Germany, but moved to the United States when I was 3 years old. My father was an executive producer who worked on television shows mostly. It was from him that I was introduced to the magic of film and television. He brought me on set with him every once in a while to see how things worked. I met actors, crew members. When I was older, I even had an opportunity to operate cameras or be a background actor. I was in awe of the whole experience. It mystified me. So I'm looking at the beginning of this. This is part 1. It's a story. It's a story with a setting, but with a theme that's connected to the next steps, to the application for grad school. We're expecting the speaker to talk about something in the arts, something with film. We're not expecting the speaker to talk about medical school. So let's see if the speaker fulfills the promise of the beginning of the speech. Because again, this is a speech. It was not written, and that's why you can see it's kind of cut up in an interesting way with commas, semicolons, not in the right place because this is a speech. But I knew I would need to scale up at some point and develop more skills as a filmmaker. That's when I decided to pursue undergraduate studies in film. Throughout that experience, I worked with other students who were interested in all different aspects of filmmaking: production, acting, cinematography, film history, screenwriting, and others. Having a Bachelor of Arts degree in film studies was great for my resume and burgeoning reputation as an emerging creator. But I knew what I was lacking was a more robust learning experience in film history, theory, and analysis. It's been a difficult road, but I've been slowly building myself up as a creator. I believe that as I continue to develop my knowledge and understanding of film from a philosophical perspective, I can have a fulfilling career as a filmmaker critic. So that is considered an excellent example of a response to the question, tell me about yourself. The person sets the story of their life around the theme of becoming a filmmaker. The source is at the bottom too. So if you want to look up some other examples, that's a great consulting firm that coaches people in graduate school applications. So here's the second example of an interview question. Why this university? So the three things that you may want to do in response to the question, why this university? Why are you interested in our university? Know why you want to study there. Connect your goals to the curriculum. And then share your passion for the school, department, professors, research areas. Know, connect, and convey in response to, like, why do you want to study here? Here's interview question number 3, example number 3. What would you contribute to our department? To prepare for this question, you'll want to research up-to-date information about the university. Understand all the opportunities, because you can talk about how you could contribute to the department through research or being a teaching assistant or a graduate assistant, or helping out with student life. Supporting a lab, being a lab assistant is also a method of supporting the university. And then mention how your goals align with the university, department, staff, and students. So in answer to example question 3, what would you contribute? What do you bring to the table? You might want to consider doing these 3 things. Interview question number 4, possibility. Why do you want to study in this field? Here you're talking about your major. If you remember the example that I just showed you, the person tells the story of filmmaking through his or her life, and then connects it to their final career goal of being a filmmaker. So your question may be, why do you want to study in this field, in this major, in this graduate department? In preparation for this example question, you can review your past and present courses, the classes that you've taken, your previous work, your research interests, and then connect all of that to the department, to the field for your master's. And even if your undergraduate degree is different, do not be afraid. You can still find ways that your undergraduate bachelor degree can serve you, connect to a graduate program, even if they're very different. So think about how you can connect those two, especially if they're different. Be prepared to show enthusiasm for the field. It seems like you would because you're spending your own time with me learning about grad school interview. So I would guess that you're probably really enthusiastic. And then also show confidence and ambition. Graduate programs want you to be ambitious. That doesn't mean overconfident, but that you want to go places. So don't be afraid to show that you're confident, but then you also have big goals and that you're ambitious. Number 5, discuss a time that you failed or succeeded. This question comes up a lot in United States interviews. I don't think this is as popular in Thailand. I've been to some 2 different types of interviews here. I was on an interview committee for incoming professor. I was also on the interview committee here at my university for incoming freshmen. And I noticed that we didn't ask them discuss a time that you failed, but we did ask discuss a time that you succeeded. But you may get either question. And the thing about it is they're watching you to see, how do you talk about your failures? How do you talk about things in your life that didn't go well? So they're looking at your tone, they're looking at your attitude and your words. And they're also looking at your confidence. With these, you need to reflect and assess your life. Try to share your values and with what you learned from the experience. You may want to use the STAR method here. STAR method. Situation, task, action, result. So again, you might want to use the STAR method: situation, task, action, result. And the next slide tells you more about the STAR method. So the STAR method is, again, situation, task, analysis, results. A way to answer questions that are asking you for specific examples. Situation is the context for the setting. So like in a story, you always tell the time and place. So first, try to set up the situation and then explain briefly the task, the actual failure or success, and the action that you took. Next is analysis, describing the effect that your action had on the problem. And lastly, result. Show the outcome with quantitative or qualitative data. If you have numbers that you can share that show that your solution to the problem improved the problem, improved yourself, improved your department, improved your workplace, quantitative data, numbers will help you. You can also use qualitative data where you tell stories, anecdotal stories about how you improved the situation, how you learned from failure, and even success. So again, this is the STAR method: situation, task, analysis, and results. It's a way to address questions that ask for examples. Interview question possibility, example number 6. where else are you applying? You might feel a little like, I don't know if I want to talk about other schools. Many grad schools want to know where else are you applying. It's okay to mention other schools. In a job interview, a lot of times we won't talk about other places of work that we're applying or other schools, but with graduate school, they may ask you, where else are you applying? It's okay to mention other schools. But at the end, please highlight why this university, department, and program is your top choice, or I put a top choice. So go back to why this university is a top choice for you. And then you may want to emphasize why this school is a great fit for you also. So here's an expert example response. Where else are you applying? I wanted you to see this because it's kind of an awkward question, and you might not feel comfortable if they ask you that because you're talking about the school's competition. You're talking about other universities. So this is considered an expert example response to the question, where else are you applying? So I'm going to go ahead and read this to you because I want you to hear the whole response. When I looked for graduate school programs, I mostly focus on scholarship and research opportunity, as well as the faculty I had a chance to work with. So this candidate, this future student, starts with a good, almost like a topic sentence. I guess background, providing background for us. In addition to this program, I have also applied to X school and Y school. So those are just schools. The website took the names of the schools out, but X and Y, both of which have excellent programs and scholarship opportunities in line with my interests. That said, this school would be one of my top choices, particularly because of the work Dr. Singh is doing in his research lab. I corresponded with Dr. Singh about his current initiative and found that our interests overlap considerably, and he responded favorably when I asked if he might consider supervising my project if I'm accepted. So this person's already making connections with a professor at the university. I am up to date on his work, and I've been following it for some time now. Working with him as I complete my degree would be ideal due to my interest in this particular area. While I need to spend some time familiarizing myself with the wider field and theoretical resources, which will happen during my coursework, I already have some ideas of independent research I could possibly do, branching off of the work he's done already. So this person redirected the question. Instead of going on and on and on about other schools, mentioned the two other schools, but brought it back to this university and the benefits of this university. So I thought that was pretty clever, pretty good answer. And again, the source is at the bottom if you wanted to check out other answers. So here's interview question, example number 7. What are your hobbies and interests? So here you're probably wondering, like, why? Why would they ask me, what are my hobbies and interests? They're trying to see who you are. And they want to see your values. They want to see, what do you do in your free time? Aim to present yourself as interesting and well-rounded, if you can. Right now, I'd like to just add some answers in chat. So if you could add some answers so that we can maybe hear about your hobbies and interests right now in chat, please type any hobbies or interests that you have that you might want to mention during your grad school interview. Oh, good. Okay. So type your, oh, good. Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Oh, tennis. Movies. Wow, great. We have Fanita plays tennis. Rena watches movies. Tia Toja, music, varsity club, volunteering. Nice. Tanti. Oh, taking photographs. Wow, everyone has so many interests. Ellen, mountain climbing. Maida, traveling. These are great. These are so great during an interview. Wow, sightseeing. Okay, that connects to everyone. That's Abdullah. Muhammad, running with a question mark. What does that mean? Do you know how far? Resty, reading, hiking. Rena, spending time with your dogs. Chris, analyzing movies. Wow, we have a movie critic here. You must be busy with all the movies on Netflix and Hulu. Great. So they may ask you that. It's also a nice kind of icebreaker that like lightens the tension during an interview so that you don't feel like you're just being interrogated the whole time. And it can bring in kind of a little bit of small talk and connection for people. So I hope that you're in your interview for TA or GA positions, they ask you about your hobbies and your interests. Great. Okay, so I know tonight I'm going through all of these really quickly. It's now 5:45. We're doing okay on time. But again, the big thing when I've gone to many job interviews and 2 interviews for graduate school, actually looking at questions and making a plan of how I'm going to answer those questions was really helpful for me. Okay, so let's look at number 8. Get back to the questions. This one's tricky as well. This is at the end of not every, but many job interviews. Do you have any other questions? So the advice is ask thoughtful questions about department resources and opportunities. Be careful not to just ask questions to fill the time. Right now, let's share some possible questions that we could ask at the end of an interview. Grad school interview, job interview. So right now in chat, let me go back to my chat. Let's see what people are saying. Any questions that you think that you could ask a university at the end of a graduate school interview? I'm thinking too. Oh, that's a good one. I kind of want to know how many graduate assistants are selected. Sometimes they don't tell you that. Probably because it involves money, scholarships, grants. So GAs are graduate assistant. Okay, great. Oh, wow. Feedback on your interview. Okay. So these are some good possible questions. You might want to have it in your mind before the end of the interview, because sometimes you do get a little nervous and it's hard to think so quickly at the end of the interview. Here are some graduate school interview links just for some information too that I thought these links were good. This one, the second one here, BMO, it has examples of expert answers to the top questions. I used 2 of those tonight, but you might want to review those, bookmark it now, and then right before your grad school interviews, review those answers so that they're fresh in your mind. This article here by Alexa Friedman, her grad school interview was during an open house. So they had like a welcome day on campus, and then it was part of the welcome open house. One of my interviews was like that. They invited us all for an open house, and then they talked to us in small group, and then talked to us individually. It was a little bit more informal. And then after I was accepted, my interview to be a TA and actually start teaching at the university, that was more formal. And I had to show evidence that I knew how to lead a lesson. So that was more formal. And then the last one here, this is from this group. And this is, I think it's about a 10-minute YouTube video by a consultant who helps people apply for graduate schools. It's worth the watch. So it's right here on YouTube if you want to go to YouTube to find this presentation, or you can take a picture of it right now with your camera, but you might want to watch that. It's only about 10 minutes because we're going to move into the 8 questions for Kahoot. I see we have a few chats. Okay. Yes. Okay. And I saw Ellen also wrote in chat, are there any professors who I can correspond with on the fields I'm interested in as a final question? Raina, the link, I think, I'll talk to Miss Claire Lee about getting everyone the link. So I know this is going to be on YouTube, I think, for a month. How are we doing on time? I'm just checking my watch. Okay, we have 11 more minutes. So I'm a big fan of Kahoot. And so this is not a quiz, but I put together an 8-question poll. And what I would like you to do, please, is to click on the link to answer the 8 Kahoot poll questions. You don't need a Kahoot account. You just click on the link. I think you have to use maybe a username that's similar to your name. If you could just maybe use your real first name. Click on that, and then you're going to be answering 8 questions. And the questions are, you're going to be ranking your knowledge on 8 questions. 1, 2, 3, or 4. 1, 2, 3, or 4. Beginner. Let me remember what. Oh, I have it right here. Oh yes. Okay. Number 1, beginning. 2, developing. 3, proficient. 4, expert. So I would like you to rank yourself 1, 2, 3, or 4 on the 8 poll questions. Again, this is not a quiz. I just want to see maybe how you feel about any of the prompts or questions on the Kahoot. So I see there's a couple chats. Okay, great. Yeah, somebody's asking me to copy and paste. Absolutely. I'll copy and paste this right into the chat. Uh-oh, it took me to Kahoot. Just a minute. Sorry. Ugh. Well, I'll be able to see your results too. So let me try this again. Oh, good. Okay. Okay, so you can click through chat. Click through chat. I guess I should have done it. I'm sorry. And then we have yay, I got a thumbs up. All right, so click through chat. Sorry, I wasn't thinking. I used to teach on Zoom, but I haven't been on Zoom for a little while, and I forgot that you need the link in chat. So thank you so much for all of your help tonight. I appreciate everybody. We learn from students, don't we? Always. We learn from the people who attend our workshops. So, okay. So the cool thing is I can see how you're doing on the poll. Again, this is not a quiz. I just want to see kind of how you rate your knowledge. Uh, the group will not see your answers. They'll just see a general answer. So you can let your friends know that if they want to watch the video on YouTube, this presentation will be on YouTube until May, and the Kahoot will be up until May 20th. So your friends can watch the presentation and then complete the Kahoot poll. Huh, I see that, Tieto. Interesting. So we have about 8 more minutes, time for the Kahoot poll. If anyone has any other questions, my email is teachercattade@gmail.com. This is me. If you have any questions, if I could help you in any way. And I do want to also give a big shout out for graduate school. It's an amazing experience, graduate school, definitely worth attending graduate school. The opportunities are phenomenal. Don't be discouraged if when you first get accepted, they don't have maybe scholarship money and TA, GA positions for you. Sometimes after you get on campus and you prove yourself, a lot of opportunities open up. And also, I have to say, having a master's degree in higher education degrees really, really, really helps your job prospects, at least in the field of education. I'm sure in almost all fields. So I'm proud of you for spending your time tonight learning more about graduate school interviews. And I'm excited about your futures. Please let me know, send me an email and let me know how you're doing. Again, I'm really excited about all of your prospects and your future plans. Please take the Kahoot poll and I'll share it right now. I can share the poll without your names, but everyone will be able to see what the responses look like tonight. So please complete that if you can right now. And if you have any other questions, feel free to share. All right, so we had a little bit of time to finish the final Kahoot poll. I'll be looking at that once everyone's done, but if you have any questions, I think I answered all the questions in chat. Oh, yes, that's a great question. Someone asked, and while you're working on the poll, someone asked, are there any answers you shouldn't say? And I didn't mention this during the presentation because I was focusing on the 8 most popular interview questions. Generally, we avoid talking about politics in the United States during a graduate school interview. Some people may avoid talking about religion, but I would not like to censor people about that, especially if maybe it's mentioned in one of your personal statement or something that's close to you. But generally, we do avoid talking about politics in graduate school interviews. So, and there's other subjects that are really personal generally that we don't talk about. Like we often don't talk about money, and we don't ask people like too many personal questions. but that's similar to many places around the world as well. But so that's something like somebody asked about hobbies. I think generally you can mention most hobbies, but if you're really involved in a political organization in the United States, honestly, you might not want to talk about that too much during your interview. Because, you know, if you're really involved in one political party in the United States and there's people in the interview that are not in that political party, but there's different ways you can talk about it. You can talk about community volunteering. So there's ways around being really talking about something, you know, that might be controversial. Most of your questions will not be, there's many legal boundaries in the United States, so you will not be asked questions that are inappropriate. You should not ever be asked questions that are inappropriate or too personal or anything about your health or your age, or even where you live. Those are not questions for the interview. They'll stick to the most popular questions generally. And if something's inappropriate, there are things that you can do to, you know, report inappropriate questions. But for the most part, people usually stick to the questions that they're legally allowed to ask you. All right, well, it's 6 o'clock. I hope that everyone was able to complete the 8-question poll on Kahoot. Thank you so much for spending time with us. And thank you so much for attending the webinars that Ms. Claire Lee put together, Professor Claire Lee. So I think that if anyone doesn't have any more questions, I think that we'll continue with the Kahoot poll. Please let your friends know that this will also be on YouTube. But thank you so much. It was great meeting all of you. And I'm looking forward to seeing if you email me, I can tell you the results of the poll, but I have to look at the Kahoot poll to see how we did. All right. Thank you so much. I enjoy spending time with you. Good luck. Good luck on your grad school interviews. And let me know how it's going. I'm cheering you on. I'm cheering you on from Thailand. You can do it.